You are live.
Hi, everyone. Bill Fairman.
Jonathan Davis.
Yeah, that's who you are.
Hi.
Excellent. So, Carolina Capital Management, welcome to another market update show. We have a great show today. We have our special guests are regular mentors of ours, and especially me, because I need a lot of help, right? I like to say, and I get this from Glenn Stromberg, never had an original idea in my life. I just know a lot of smart people, and I just copy what they do, right?
Makes you smart, right?
So our previous week's shows have been devoted to really keeping up with what's going on in the market. And as you know, it's been changing fast and furious, weekly, daily, actually. Yeah. This week, I want to focus on, our schedules, our timing, our work habits. Everything is in upheaval right now. And it's very difficult to be productive. What do you do in business as well if you're getting those paycheck protection loans and you have to bring all your employees back, but your customers haven't gotten back yet? What do you do? You just sit around.
What are your employees working on? Yeah.
So our show this week is going to be dedicated to how to be more productive, how to better yourself personally and professionally, and utilize this time as a positive and not a negative. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to add another negative, but it could also be a positive. So today's unemployment numbers, first time unemployment filings today was 4.4 million.
Wow.
Which is actually better because last week it was 5.
Yeah. What's the total now?
We're right around 26 million. So 26. It's trending down, which is a good thing. But at the same time, there's 26 million people without work, and that's really not a good thing. So I think one of our guests, David Phelps, is having a little trouble getting on, but I am going to go ahead and introduce everyone and, like I say, get this train wreck started. So first off, I want to talk about Blaine Oelkers. He is undoubtedly the most energetic person that I know. This guy can do so much. He stays so focused, yet at the same time, he can multitask. Blaine is a lifetime entrepreneur. He has created and operated profitable businesses for over 2 decades, a graduate of Purdue University. Blaine has owned and operated a consulting firm. And we're not going to name the names, but very large, the world's largest pizza delivery company, 4 health and wellness businesses, a personal development company as well. His passion is to help people take control of their lives by taking control of themselves. He is the co-author of Think and Grow Rich, the book study edition, and he is the CRO of Freedom Founders. If you want to know what CRO stands for, he is the Chief Results Officer. Welcome, Blaine.
Hey, very excited to be here.
Excellent. So next I got Davy Tyburski. Davy is one of the most in demand, and I got this straight off of Google.
You could certainly believe that then.
That's right. In demand professional speakers, business advisors, because he delivers what every entrepreneur and company and organization wants, and that's more profit. He is the author of Profit Maximization, the Profit Book. By the way, I have a signed copy by the author, and the Insider's Guide to Strong Credit and Sales Relationships. Now, I like showing these pictures up here with Davey. I had no idea he was so influential with all these celebrities. Now,
Is he on a stool beside Michael Jordan? That's what I want to know.
No, he is actually standing there. So I grew up a Redskins fan, so I love seeing him up there with Joe Theismann showing off their Super Bowl rings. I've been a lifelong North Carolina basketball fan, so obviously I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. Everyone loves Raymond, of course, so I'm a big fan. But I was most impressed that he had broken bread with John Stossel.
That's pretty cool.
I'm a I'm a serious John Stossel fan. So welcome, Davy. David Phelps. He is the CEO of Freedom Founders. David owned a dental practice twice. And no, he didn't own two dental practices. He owned the same one twice. David is dedicated to teaching private practice and business professionals, small business owners, how to stop trading time for dollars. Author of From High Income to High Net Worth, The Ultimate Freedom Prescription, Selling Your Practice, and his most recent, The Apprentice Model. David also hosts Dentist Freedom Blueprint podcast. Now, I didn't want to leave David short of having a picture with a celebrity. So if you see the picture just under his name with the panelists there, the second person to the left sitting down is me. So he's there with a celebrity. Welcome, David.
Well done. Well done. I appreciate that because I'm always looking for that kind of celebrity connection. So thanks for making that happen. Good to see you guys. And this is part of the problem working from home. If you don't have technical support, you can't get the link to work. And, that's just a side note for today as we get into the conversation. So.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to mention about my graphics. I was the one that put together the graphics for everyone. So
really,
as crappy of a job it was because I had to do it myself and not have a professional do it. So my apologies.
Done is better than perfect. So you're good.
That's right.
That's right. So, we've been doing these market updates, every week. And like I said at the beginning, it's fast and furious. Things are constantly changing. But we all need to have a little bit of normalcy to our lives. And, we're not used to working from home. We're used to being at the office. It's difficult when you're having to work at the house.
Yeah. How do you stay on task?
And I'm going to start this off with Blaine. And really all I want to do from each of you are to give us some tricks and habits that we can do at home to stay more productive, stay on schedule, get your goals. What can we do with this time to more normalize our work day, and at the same time, stay on track and not constantly be worried about what's going on. So, Blaine, I know you have a lot of ideas.
Yes.
I'm going to let you have it.
Well, and there's a lot of things you can do, probably too many things you can do. I've actually, for 25 years, I've worked from home. So this wasn't much of a shift for me. But also I have a lot of experience working at home. But there's a lot of things you can do, but I'm going to distill it down to three things for everybody today. And being like chief results officer, it is about getting results. And sometimes for you, it's a different environment. But I would say the number one tip right now is limit the crazy and don't be lazy, right? So the first little thing is limit the crazy, don't be lazy. And what I mean by that is that being out of your normal work environment and being at home, it's so easy to get dragged into all of the crazy. Now, the crazy is unproductive stuff. It could be talking about the virus or getting stuck in unresourceful states. And so I always say no more than 10% in the crazy. So that means 6 minutes of each hour you can spend in the crazy. But after that, you got to stop, right? So my wife Beth and I will, even if we're enamored with the news or checking, stats online about the virus and all that, after 6 minutes, we're like, we're done. We need 54 minutes now of solution-focused, forward action, taking type steps. So limit the crazy, and then don't be lazy, meaning that this is a time, and I think, Davey and David will talk about how this can be a inflection point in your life. So I'll let them kind of cover that stuff, but don't be lazy. Stay active and keep doing stuff. Again, limit the crazy. Don't be lazy. The second thing is how you start the day is so key, especially if you're working from home or you're stuck at home. And so how you start the day is the key. Now, I like to start the day before. So I never like to let a day end without having the next day planned. So I like to do what's called NDP, next day planning. So before I go to bed, I at least make a little schedule for the next day. And even if it's just on a piece of paper, even if by your toothbrush, you put a pad and paper, and if you don't have a plan for tomorrow, by the time you're brushing your teeth and going to bed, you make a quick plan. Because if you have a plan when you start the day, you're 10 times more likely to get results than if you awaken without a plan. Also, when you're putting together your plan, how you start the day is key. And I would try to get you to not start the day in social media, email, news, all that stuff. When you first wake up, give yourself X amount of time. Now, I call it the sacred 30. So I take 30 minutes before I let the world in, and I do all my stuff that I want to get done, which most people have a morning routine. It's, fuel the body, get some exercise in, think about my most important stuff. Maybe I'm writing a little bit in the morning, but you're doing stuff for you that's most important to you before you let the rest of the world in, right? So limit the crazy, don't be lazy. How you start the day is key. Do the next day planning. And then the last one is keep the motor running. For you to get results, you got to stay, in a resourceful state and a highly productive state. So at home, it's so easy to snack and eat junk. Surround yourself with good liquids like water, healthy snacks, nuts, fruits, things like that. Surround yourself with good fuel for the body, and make sure that you take some time to reboost, reward and kind of refuel and recharge yourself. Again, I like 6 minutes. It's only 10% of an hour, but taking 6 minutes, little breaks here and there to kind of keep your motor running at the highest level. And you know what to do. I mean, that exercise helps. Eating the right foods helps. So just make sure you put more of that stuff into your life. And if you can pre-plan it, it's the best, right? So if you throw out all the junk food and you only have the healthy stuff, it's a lot easier to stay compliant with that. So anyway, that would be kind of 3 tips off the top, which I think if you apply them, you'll see results immediately.
Well, I agree with you on the number one, plan your day, and you need exercise. I remember earlier this week, you and I were on a call, and you gave me the smackdown because I was complaining that I can't go to the gym and do my boot camps because I needed that structure of going to the gym. And again, you gave me the smackdown saying, no, you can do it.
Yeah. The smackdown was, when I lost my excuses, I found my results. So that typically happens.
I like that.
That's excellent. So Davy, what kind of tips do you have for folks working out of the house?
Yeah, first off, just appreciate you guys having us on today. You kind of get a 3-for-1 deal today. So David Phelps obviously will be our third and really put a bow on a lot of things that we're talking about here in Freedom Founders and what we've been doing. First off, I want to go back to those pictures. I've known David Phelps for 10 plus years now, friends first, and we've done some business over the years as well, but we've always been friends first. But David remembers that one of the most important things that relates to the folks who are watching or listening to the audio today is, investing in yourself. So David and myself, and obviously you guys as well, understand that you got to always sharpen the axe. So those pictures, some of those pictures when I keynoted many presentations go back to many years ago when David and I used to hang out together at different events. So that's always been a pleasure. One thing since you did put the picture up of Michael Jordan, just remember Michael Jordan, in my mind, one of the best basketball players in history. But, when I had a chance to hang out with Michael for 4 days in Las Vegas, one of the questions I asked him was, why do you have a coach? And he goes, I don't have a coach. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. He goes, no, I actually have 6 coaches. So the important thing about that is look at the guy who's at the top of the basketball game, always had at least 1 coach, let alone 6. So that's a lesson for all of us. Number 2 on my list is I think during these times, by the way, I've been working from home for 10 plus years myself. But one of the key things I always say is revenue is important, but profit is the most important. So now that you have this time to really do, like Blaine said, some deep thinking about your business and what you would be doing differently, I always want to remind you that revenue is nice, but at the end of the day, profit's the most important to you and your family. Third point I want to make is this is extreme, but I think extreme circumstances call for extreme measures. I would have everybody that's watching or listening ask themselves this question. If I did not have a business today, or I did not have a sales process today, or I did not have a marketing process today, and I had a blank whiteboard in front of me, how would I be doing this today if I didn't have anything? I think one of the things most entrepreneurs, small business owners, people get jacked up on is they keep putting duct tape on stuff. And as a guy, we love duct tape, but we all know that there's a point where that duct tape wears out. I think during this downtime is a great time for you to get rid of the damn duct tape and ultimately focus on, if you had a blank whiteboard, how would you sketch out that process today? And now's the time to go back and think through that. And then when you go back and you crank it up, you should pilot test that new process, whatever that happens to be. Fourth thing, and then I'll pass it over to David, is this. The 80-20 rule has been around forever. I've always run, when I was back in prison, I guess I should clarify that for the folks. When I was in prison, which was corporate America, I spent 20 plus years in corporate America. I've always lived by this rule, and as an entrepreneur and now as a chief operating officer of Freedom Founders, I've always used the 80-20 rule from this perspective. 80% of what we do should be focused on the short term, what we do right now, but you should always carve out 20% of your time to think about strategy. What are you going to do moving forward? Another way to look at that is 80% working in your business, 20% on your business. I think during these times, you got to flip that around. I believe you ought to be spending 80% of your time now on long term. What are you going to do in 2021? That's where your thoughts should be 80% of the time. And then 20%, sort of some of the things you have to do in the short term when you start back up and when you start taking on clients or customers. So I would flip that 80-20 rule upside down. So those would be my 3 or 4 points that I wanted to share with your listeners and viewers today.
Thank you, sir. And listen, I want to let the audience know that Davy is very methodical in the way he approaches things. And this is from his beginning when he started off as a carpenter, when he was just out of school. And he worked in Pennsylvania. And he got to the winter and he's going, it's too damn cold to be a carpenter in Pennsylvania. So he packed his things and he moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where in the summer he went, it's too damn hot to be a carpenter in Florida. So he decided to move into another profession. So again, methodical, testing. He's always testing. So David, by the way, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to thank you again. Personally, I know I say this all the time, but if it wasn't for you, we would not be where we are. And that's personally and professionally, because you have given us the tools and me personally, the tools to constantly better myself. You've surrounded me with the people that are not just interested in my well-being, but also passing along their knowledge. And I'm so grateful. It's I would say I don't know. I can't pay you back enough, but
we do, but it's still worth it.
The yearly dues help a little.
And I have to second everything Bill's saying, and it's the truth, David. You've changed a lot of lives, and we're glad that ours are in that bag of lives that you're changing. Thank you so much.
Well, Bill and Wendy and Jonathan, it's mutual here, because it's already been said, iron sharpens iron. And what I've had the privilege and honor of doing since I took the 12-step program to get out of being a tooth carpenter, so I can relate back to Davey. I took that 12-step process to stop doing that. It allowed me to up my game. And what do I mean by that? We all tend to focus on a skill set, something we learned, right? In school, higher education, and that's really good. That's important. But it keeps us so narrow, I think, in scope. And once I left that part of my life with no regrets, by the way, it was a great part of my life, but it let me elevate up, and that let me become associated and affiliated with other groups. And, all of us, Davey already talked about where he and I met some 10 years ago. Bill, Wendy, we met through another group, and Jonathan coming on board recently. So what we find is when we kind of get outside our very small cave, our small world, and that's where a lot of small business owners live in, right? Because the entrepreneurial world is a very solo world. It's hard to find like-minded people. The rest of the world's out there I don't know what they're doing. Like Blaine said, it's crazy time out there, right? And we get to by working and hunting and curating the best people, we've built these affiliations. And I'm an introvert. So working from home is actually, I love it because when I talk to people like right now, let's just say, just if this was boring me right now and I didn't like you guys, I could just click out and I'd be gone, right? I don't have to exit you out my door. I don't have to stop a meeting. I could just be gone. Now I'm not gonna do that because I love being with you guys. You are the people I love to be with. But I'm just saying is we get a chance to curate some of the best people. And so working from home. So I know that's where you want to go here today. So I've been doing this for over 10 years too, and love it. And you've already heard some great tips from Blaine and Davy. I will say that, for me, time blocking, very important. Having a routine, it doesn't have to be the same routine every day, but time blocking and whatever that day looks like. And I do like variance in my schedule. I like variance, but I want it preset. As Blaine said, my day starts always the day before. It's already on the calendar. It's already done. And by the way, I don't. Well, what do you mean, Davey? What do you mean you don't do that? I mean, do you have some outer space Mars person that comes into your brain? No, I have a person called Lindsay. Well, that's one of my tips. You need to have a gatekeeper. You need to have somebody. It doesn't have to be a full-time person. Today, virtually makes it really, really easy. But somebody who manages your schedule and communication, who is there filtering out all that crazy noise, because you can't just be on your phone accessible or Facebook Messenger or all that other Instagram, Snapchat crap. I don't even know what it is. Davey tries to suck me into that all the time, and I just say, no, I'm not going there, Davey. I'm just kidding. Davey hates it as much as I do, and but you have to filter that out, and then you have to train people how you want to be. So again, Lindsay does that for me. So people, if you're in my inner VIP circle, then you're going to be able to get to me relatively easily. Now, it doesn't mean I'm just going to pick up the phone for you. You're still going to have to let me know in advance. We got something to talk about. Lindsay's going to vet that for me and make sure that we are on the same page. So when we get to that call, assuming that I approve it, and you guys, I'd approve it for you because we have great conversations. But I'm just saying, for the world out there, you can't just be an open door. Just let people have instant and all times access to you, because if you do, then you're go crazy. And we like to be liked, so we tend to open the door up and say, "Gosh, if somebody pings me on Facebook or something and they want to chit chat about this or that, I better do it because I want to be liked." No, that's nothing about being liked. It's about being very conscious about your time. So your time value. How do you value your time? What's your dollar per hour? I mean, it's important for people to get that down when you're in your sweet spot, your sweet zone. What's your dollar per hour? We could go through a whole process of how to build that in. I'm not going to do that right now. It's just a question I'll pose to the group today that's watching. But what's the value of your time? Have a gatekeeper to manage your schedule, your communications at a high level. And then I would just say, along with that, beware of time vampires. Now, that could be people or things. It could be Facebook. Blaine already talked about it. Just news. Watch what you let enter your world. And if you're going to do it, then leave a specific time slot for that. As Blaine said it well, then cut it off. Be done, because you can get sucked down rabbit holes all day long today because of all this connectivity we have. And at home, particularly, if you're not used to working from home, you've got to develop some habits and some disciplines to allow you to be productive in the way that you are most productive. So I'll leave it there for you.
Great.
Excellent. So, throughout my career, I worked home for 3 years. I was on the road for 3 years. I was back home again for another 3 years. If I hadn't gotten divorced since then it's a pretty decent relationship, because it's tough when you're never there and then you're always there and then you're never there and then you're always there. And the great thing about working from home, you only have a 90-second commute. The downside is you never are away from work. And that was my biggest problem, was that when I'm supposed to have my own downtime, I was always thinking, there's something else I could be doing, because it seems like I'm wasting time instead of, getting away from it. I wasn't doing laundry while I was working, but I was working when I should have been doing laundry. That was my problem.
Yeah.
Right?
My problem is that, I wake up, get our children fed, and then I get my coffee and I start checking emails, and by that time it's like 7:15, and I'm already sucked in, and I have to consciously set working out like we all talked about.
Right.
I have to set aside time to do that, because I mean, it's so easy to get for people who have ultra focus to get sucked into work and put the blinders onto everything else, even your own well-being.
Well, one of the things I have started doing, thank you, Blaine, is that as soon as I get up, I get dressed, I have a cup of coffee, and then I go run a mile and
Good
just
for you.
kind of clear my head and obviously my lungs. It's not been it's not been too fun with all the pollen here in spring, but it gets your day started off pretty well. It's not a workout, but it is getting you up and moving and getting your blood pumping.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, you have any things you'd like to say?
You guys said it all. I am guilty of doing the laundry while I'm working. I'd like to say that I'm not, but I am. It's it's hard to get everything in when you need to, but really it's a 24/7. If you're not working, you're thinking about what you need to be doing. So it kind of never ends, but these are great tips that we've been giving out. Thank you so much, guys.
And I don't want to forget, please subscribe, like, share. Some of the other things you can do online, I don't know what it is, but make sure that you love us.
Yeah, David Phelps will tell us all about it, right?
That's right. And again, you guys can ask questions if you like. Put it in the chat, and if time allows, we'll get to them before we end here today. All right. So the next thing on the big elephant in the room, a lot of small businesses have applied for the PPP loan. The big dilemma is you have to spend it on 75% of it has to be payroll.
Correct. Yeah.
So you bring your employees back.
But where are your customers?
Yeah. But your business hasn't built up.
Mm-hmm.
I know dental offices are going to have that same problem that when they do open, or if they've applied for this and they still can't open and they get that money, they're going to have to put it to work. So,
Mm-hmm.
so even if they have to work remotely, your employees, what is it that they can do to be productive? And my first thought is, being an EOS is getting all the stuff done that you haven't had time to do. So, Blaine, you have any suggestions on bringing these employees back, and what do you do with their time now that you're paying them and business is slow?
Right. So there's a couple of things you can do. I think one of the biggest things is kind of like what Davey talked about, the duct tape, right? I mean, you've got some systems that aren't optimal, right? In the business, you've got standard operating procedures that need to be updated, right? So this is your chance to kind of reset. This is your chance to even pivot if you want to. But this is the time for you to go look back. What needs to get fixed, redone, optimized, simplified. I like to simplify, optimize and automate wherever I can. So I think you're looking at those kinds of things that you can do, right away that are backlogged like that. But then the other thing is, what can these, what can your employees help you, for the surge coming after the purge, right? So now, a lot of time is being spent getting ready for what is it like as we all get back to whatever our new normal is, but getting prepared for that, getting the marketing ready for that. And there's so many things that you'll hear, and I think David and Davey can speak a little bit more to this on the business side, like outbounding. That's one of the top things that employees are doing right now, is connecting with clients, connecting with what we call unconverted leads or prospects that never did become a client. So this is a great time to communicate with your tribe. So I think those would be a couple of initial things. But I think David and Davey have kind of been knee deep in a lot of this stuff, especially in the dental space lately. And I think they'll have some further tips.
Excellent. All right, Davey, you're up then.
All right. Hey, that's a great handoff, Blaine. I got the ball from here, brother. So I appreciate, as always, the clean handoff to me. Well, the first thing is I am just the direct guy here. So I just want to just throw this out. It's going to be cough medicine. Most of you aren't going to like it, but it will make you feel better if you think about this. Why'd you have to go apply for the PPP? Why'd you have to do that? I mean, did you not have 2 or 3 months worth of capital stashed? Did you not have money under your mattress? Did you not have money saved up in your business that you were being a Smokey the Bear? Wendy, don't say anything. You know the joke on that. But were you being a Smokey the Bear? In other words, were you preparing to prevent a major fire? Obviously, with the pandemic we're going through now, there's a fire. The fire is nobody's working. You can't have your business open. You got employees who are filing for, and that's all fire. But what have you done as a Smokey the Bear? And if you haven't done anything to prepare this time, my encouragement to you, my prayer for you would be that you take this, the feelings you had the first couple of weeks, and if you ever feel yourself in a position again where you're not preparing for the future, not being a Smokey the Bear, think about how horrible you felt for the last couple of weeks. That will be the motivation, the inspiration you need to call time out and make sure you're really looking at the profitability of your business. Revenue is important, but profit's the most important. The more profit you make, the more you can serve people. So I just want to get that cough medicine out of the way. Now let me turn that frown upside down for just a minute. A couple other quick things. Blaine, I loved your idea earlier. Another thing I like to do in downtimes like this with teams is start, stop, and continue exercise. So what should we start doing around here? What should we stop doing, STOP? And what are the things that are working so well we should continue to do? So that's another great exercise that I would encourage you to do as you start bringing folks back in to the company or your practice, whatever you may happen to be serving in. Another question, and again, just a straight shooter. I love this question. What have we been doing that's stupid around here? Especially with some of your long-term team members, it's, they've been trained that that's just the way we've always done it. I think it's a great time to ask that question. What have we been doing that's stupid around here that we ought to change moving forward? It kind of goes back to that stop that I mentioned in my first point. Third point is this. I would bet a six-pack right now that if you ask this question, that 80% of your team members wouldn't answer it correctly. And the answer to this question is important because it sets up everything else that Blaine's talked about, everything that David Phelps has talked about up to this point, and it's this. I would do an exercise with my team members now separately, individually. So for instance, hypothetically, if Blaine was one of my team members, I'd ask Blaine this question. Hey, Blaine, while we've got some downtime, just write down the 5 most important things that you think you're responsible for here at fill in the blank company. And then separately, you ought to do the same exercise. What do you think the 5 most important things that Blaine should be doing in your business? And then when you do it separately, get a cup of coffee together, have a virtual Zoom meeting together, whatever it is for you, whatever floats your boat, and you ought to have a conversation about the disconnects. Remember, if you do 5 of them, I would bet you a six-pack that 4 of the 5 aren't going to match up. And it's a great time for you to reset based on the great reset we're going through now. It's a great time to reset expectations with your key team members to make sure they're on the right track moving forward. So those would be the 3 that I'd offer to the folks who are watching or listening today.
Excellent.
You know what? That's such a great point too, because being part of EOS, you're supposed to be going over all these all the time, but we tend to kind of drift. And at the same time, your business model has probably changed and is going to change. So that's a good time to reprioritize. Good info, Davey. David, you're really in touch with the dental side of things, and they are going through a really tough patch right now. I know a lot of practices are going to have to probably change their model. I predict you're going to see a lot more doctors doing hygiene now than they used to. What's your take on how to get that team productive and how to kind of change things?
Yeah, as you've indicated, that this is a reset opportunity. And so the crisis management that people are having to go through right now and looking at their business from all perspectives, it will have to change. There's no question about it. And will it ever get back to, quote, normal? I don't think people want to go back to normal. I think people are that they've been running on a hamster wheel. And I can say I've been there, where just being the doer and thinking that bigger capacity, bigger numbers, top line revenue, that bigger is always better. And you can't run that way anymore, even if you could before. So much of our economic marketplace has been built on debt. from consumer level to businesses to our nation, to the globe. It's built on debt. Well, that's not sustainable. And so we're going through this reset time. And I agree with Davey that the PPP loans, this helicopter money that's being shoved out there, and again, like every bureaucratic ideal situation, they mess it up, and you've got people now at home on unemployment benefits that are making more than they did when they were working. So now we've got this mishmash. All kinds of people in the dental realm saying, "Well, my employees don't want to start back up. It's not safe yet, and we're sitting home." I got to be careful here, but eating bonbons and getting these checks. And we kind of like this. In fact, I don't think it's going to be safe for like the rest of the year. So let's just keep on this plan because, well, it's free money. No, nothing is free. There's no free. We'll all be paying for it, and our kids and grandkids will be paying for this. So I know that doesn't really stick well with a lot of people, but that's the truth. So this free money also has a lot of strings attached to it. So this was how to use this PPP money, assuming you took it, and how do you make it work so you get maximum forgiveness? Well, yes, there's ratios there. You brought them out, Bill, but I think that's the wrong driver. Look, if you took the money and you really, really, really need it because you didn't plan ahead, you didn't have 3 to 6 months of reserves, well, hopefully you're going to change that program going back in. But if you really need it, then just doggone it, use the money, but use it super wisely. Be very cautious of your cash flow, your expenses, until you have any revenues coming back in, because it's going to be a tight balance. I don't care how much money you've got. It can run out very, very quickly if you're not careful. In fact, I think for a lot of small business owners who weren't really good with their cash flows, this is harmful, because now they got this extra money in the bank and they're feeling kind of like, I can breathe again. And now they're not going to dig in and do the work they should have been doing. So I think in some ways it's bad across the board. Okay. So like Davey, I have to kind of stick it in people's faces first. Okay. So now you're looking at coming back. So I think there's probably an opportunity, probably not to bring everybody back. Okay. Again, I know there's because you get to find out who's really been on board and who hasn't. So now you're reaching out to your team members and you're having those discussions, which you should be having right now to see where they're at. You should be doing one-on-ones and then see what the temperature is, because then you're going to have a group discussion about this is the reality, gang. If you never got it before, your employment here is based on this business being profitable. And as you know, we've got a tough road going ahead because it's not going to be back usual. So if you're all going to come back here and want to come back here, so I got to raise the hands. No, I want to sit back. Okay, great, Susie. We'll bring you back last, maybe never at all. But you know what? Self-identify. Now, the ones that say, yes, I do want to come back, I want to work. Okay, now you bring them back as you can use them, whether that's virtually at home right now until you can get back and do the things that Davey and Blaine were talking about in terms of outreach to your client base, your patient base, whatever that may be, outreach, staying in touch with them. We talk at Freedom Founders all the time about what are our touch points? How are we reaching out to our people to check in on them, your patients, your clients, just checking in, not trying to ring them back in or put them on the schedule necessarily, but checking in because people want to know that you care about them. And this is a time to do that. So personal reach out, setting up a schedule to triage what your appointments or what depending on your business, what that looks like coming back in the door. Are you going to have an influx of stuff to take care of right away, and then it's going to drop off again? How are you going to manage that? These are discussions to have with your team. You as a leader need to be facilitating these, but you don't drive it because you need your team engaged in coming up with the solutions. If they can't come up with solutions, the wrong people on the team. So it's a good time to take a look and see who's really on the team and where can you go back and be lean and mean and look at your profitability, because profitability and cash flow is going to mean everything going forward. I don't care about your top line numbers or your bragging rights, this or that. Doesn't matter anymore.
Good points. I know in another group we discussed the growing responsibly, and we've been discussing that for well over a year. Bigger is not always better. Jonathan always likes to say that you build to a certain point, and then you have this machine you have to constantly feed.
Yeah, building a machine that you have to feed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that gets difficult. I think another thing is I love the profit first accounting method and what that does. Wendy, would you mind muting yourself? Thank you. What that does is it really forces you to look at your books on a regular basis. software as a service is a great thing, but it will suck you into all these little, $10, $25 a month, little things that you don't even notice. And that's why they do it.
Yeah. Well, you remember
that's how they get you.
We went through and cut out so much software over a year ago, and I think it ended up saving us like $16,000 a year.
Yeah.
Of just things that we either underutilized or didn't utilize at all.
Well, we needed it at the time, and then we outgrew it, and then you end up never canceling it. It kind of gets lost. So this is a good time to make sure that you're going through your books with a fine tooth comb and making sure that it is profit first. And the basic method is you take your profit first, and then you live on what expenses that you have. If it's more than it should be, then you eliminate those expenses. And that's a great way to do it. And I know Davy kind of specializes in that. That's why he's had 3 books written about it.
That's a funny thought, Bill. I was thinking when you said that, and David jumped on this earlier. And again, I will say this just since I have the floor, like you, Jonathan, and Wendy are coachable, right? So a lot of people that might be watching this aren't coachable. They don't take coaching very well. And that's something else that we all have to pay attention to, because if we're, regardless of our age or our experience, our wisdom in business, whatever it is, we should always be coachable. We should learn from Michael Jordan on that. But the second thing I wanted to mention is, Jonathan was talking through kind of going through the expenses. What are you not using today? Software as a service, all those type of things, and cancel that stuff. Right. But also, David said it, but I'm going to just put some more salt in the wound. It's also a good time to cancel some employees. The fact is, if you don't address it now, when are you ever going to have a chance again to address this? To me, this is like your get out of jail free card to have a tough conversation. And those folks who have not been on board with you, it's time to say a prayer, take their vitamins, and let them find their next. So I thought that was awesome that David brought that up. I just want to make sure I hammer that point home, because now's your time. You let them come back, it's going to be much more difficult to move them along to their next.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Good point.
Yeah.
Especially as long as that person's not you, Davy. There's another thing I wanted to bring out, because you talked about coachable. I think David mentioned it as well. I think this is also a great time to realize how important it is to invest in yourself. And understand the value of being in a mastermind or in a group and have a brain trust around you that can help guide you in what you should be doing, and see what's going on in the rest of the country. I can tell you that for us going through this, first of all, just being a trusted advisor and Freedom Founders, the training that we got just in January to be able to address something like this, that of course no one expected. We were pleased at where we were when we started that, but after that meeting, we realized there were so many other things that we could have done, and we put that into place. And the result was a healthy business today. So we're thrilled about that. But people are so afraid of spending money to invest in themselves and learning what they need to learn. And I think that's the biggest mistake that most businesses make, especially the smaller the business is, the more they tend to not put a value on understanding how important it is to get yourself educated inside of a group of like-minded people that can help bring you up and help train you for the future.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, Wendy. And I think those people that think of it as an expense and not an investment, and that's why they don't get involved in these things. And what Davey said too, there are some people out there that are just not coachable, and they want to do everything on their own. And we always like saying, why step in? Well, Wendy likes saying it. Why step in the dog poo when you have somebody out there that's already stepped in it and has marked it for you? Why do you want to turn around and make those mistakes again? All right, we're getting close to the end here, and I'd like to get any last comments. Blaine, you have any last little bow you want to put on this?
Words of wisdom.
Well, I mean, I think I'll go off of what Wendy said, and I think David and Davey also talk a lot about, where is the best investment, right? So you have $1,000 in the bank. Where's the best place to invest that? And it turns out that you can invest it in the markets, you can invest it in funds and all that, and you'll get a certain ROI. But then you could also invest it in your business. There'll be a certain ROI. But what David has, he's a whole blueprint about this, is when you invest in yourself, that has the highest ROI. They say kind of the rising tide lifts all boats. But when you yourself begin to improve, not only does that improve your business, but that starts to improve everything else in your life. Your relationships, your family, how you interact with the community. So I really think that and no better time than right now to skip the Netflix, a little Netflix, again, 10% Netflix, okay. 54 minutes of the hour are on improving. And this is a great time. This is when people are gonna move ahead, right? Everybody looks good running downhill. It's the uphill where the race is won. And right now you have an opportunity to get that training in, to work on yourself and to improve. And I hope you'll do some of that this week.
Excellent. David, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I would say that think in terms of your new model coming forward out of this pandemic. What do you want your business to look like? What do you want your profitability to be? And reverse engineer from that. See, again, people just want to get back there and start running again hard. Well, it's not going to be the same thing. So you need to reverse engineer. What do you want the business to look like? Meaning, who do you want to serve? Who are your customers, patients, or clients? Who do you really want to serve? Who do you need to support that? And does it all need to be employees? Can you outsource? Can you use vendors? Can you use contractors? So how can you create a more nimble infrastructure? Because I think flexibility and adaptability is going to be key, not just now, but I think forevermore. You've got to have that built in. So build a model that's got some flexibility to it. And how are you going to be different than your quote competition? No matter what sector of business you're in, how are you going to be different? How are you going to needs the new needs? Because again, everybody's mind and model and lifestyle needs are changing right now. There's this huge wake-up call, and it's changed everybody's perception of what's important. So can you get in the headspace? Can you get in the mind of the people that you serve, your customers, clients, patients, whatever they may be, and understand right now what's going through their minds? So how do you come back and serve that need first and foremost? Don't talk about what you think they want. Know what they want. Get in their heads. Talk to them right now. Be there and differentiate yourself. It's a great time to differentiate because a lot of businesses won't make it back. Some that do make it back won't last. So how are you going to be the strong that survive? The strong will not only survive, but they'll thrive. You want to be one of those.
Excellent. Guys, thanks so much for being guests today. This has just been awesome information.
Yes.
I encourage anyone who is a small business owner, private professional, to go to freedomfounders.com. David's got a great story. That group has, and I know we said this at the beginning, it has done more for our business and personal life than I'm choked up. You guys have just really moved the needle for us, and it's much appreciated. Our website is carolinahardmoney.com if you want any more further information. Please subscribe. Please like, share. I'd love to have some more comments. We can answer those afterwards as well. Wendy, Jonathan, you got anything? I would say final words, last words before.
No, just thank you guys for taking the time to be here with us, and thanks for all the great tips and all the wisdom.
Wendy?
Yeah, it's just an honor to be a part of this group. I constantly tell my tribe how important it is to have people like this around you, and you guys are just an example of the incredible people that we get to rub elbows with and learn from, and I just want to thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you didn't even get to see the best part of our team. We just showed up. We got other people too.
That's right. You do. You have an incredible team. No doubt about it.
We're just the talking heads. The people that do the real work are doing the real work.
There's no doubt about that. They are. You guys have a great team. What I want to say last about this is when you end up in a group like this, what you're going to find is that you want to start surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and you're always in a group with a naysayer or two that's always going to bring you down. Now, eventually you're going to start filtering those folks out. Now, you're not going to say, leave me alone, but eventually when you stop answering texts
and get a Lindsay,
you'll start drifting apart. Now, there's nothing you can do about family. And what do they always say? You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. You still have to hang out with those. You still have naysayers in families, but once you start surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people, your life is just going to get so much better. Anyway, thanks again for being on the show. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next week at the same time, different link. Take care.
Great show. Appreciate it.